What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. In this video, what I'm going to do is show you some quick tips on TradingView. I know in the last video, we looked at setting it up from scratch, and now we're going to go over just a couple tips that I think you need to know before we start getting into the next segments. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's start with this. When I typed in Bitcoin, the first thing that popped up for anybody is this chart. You got to have some kind of chart. So I type in Bitcoin, and this Binance chart pulls up. I have this other one because if you type in simply BTC, that's the first thing that comes up. So these are the two charts that most people are going to instantly be looking at. That's why I have these two things pulled up. If you type in Bitcoin, this one is what's there first. So let's start with that. So now for the tips. Here's the tips. Off to the left are all kinds of things that will help you in your charting, okay? So it's not just the things you see visually here. There's actually an arrow on each of these. So what you're really looking at is like a huge like a tree of options. So you're looking at the one you've actually last selected from these options. So for example, if I use the Ray tool and just happen to be using that, well, now that shows up as the default over here. And then that will continue to adjust as you use different things, the parallel channel, etc. Now, this is the same all the way down, and the options in each one are different. It's not like each category has all the same things. They're all unique. So spend some time, play through these. We're going to cover several of the key ones as we go. The first one you need to know is the trend line. The trend line is very simple. You click once, you click twice, it draws a line between the two. Now, I think because I've played with this before, that it's showing up as this dotted line. Probably this will be the default. So this is most likely what the default will look like. You can change the size of each of the lines. You can change if it's dashed or dotted. You can do that. And then you can also obviously change the color. So whatever works best for you. One quick tip for that, if you hold shift while you have, after you've clicked once and hold shift, you can do perfect angles. You can do, 90 degree, 180 degree, and 45 degree as well. So sometimes it becomes very, very useful, especially like we saw recently. If you've been following me on my live streams, this is something we used frequently. Boom. Boom. So we set a trade range up and we monitored what happened within the trade range. More on that later. Another option you could have is the parallel channel. I'm a huge believer in parallel channels. You'll see me use this all the time, whether it's on Twitter or on the live streams. You'll see me use parallel channels all the time. Now, something you've probably noticed is these little stars. Some of these items have stars, others don't. What do those do and why? Well, what this actually is down here in the bottom left. I don't know if this is selected or not by default. If not, you just simply click it. And it pulls up this little bar that you can drag around by clicking on these 6 dots, and you can drag it around. So what this actually is a favorites menu. I now have favorites. If I find myself using the arrow marker constantly to the moon, I want to have that where I can just quickly grab it, right? So these are very useful. So all of these are my favorites. These are things that I use constantly. The arc tool has been very useful. The parallel channel, diagonals, etc. Okay, one of the other things I want to show you too is especially useful for Bitcoin. If I zoom out on a far enough timeline, Bitcoin it's very hard to chart. Like if the whole purpose here is to actually chart things, how can I chart this? What is this, a chart for ants, right? That one of those things. Something that's very useful is clicking the log button down at the very bottom, especially with Bitcoin zoomed out over a long period of time. If you do not have this selected, if you are in linear, it's very hard to do any kind of analysis without zooming in and like really fiddling with the charts and suddenly, okay, now I can do some analysis. But otherwise, you can just click on log, and what it does is makes the chart because Bitcoin goes parabolic, it becomes very hard to chart on the zoomed out time preferences. So if you toggle the log, now we can actually do some analysis. Oh, hey, look, that's a breakout with a retest, etc. That kind of stuff. That's much harder to see back in here when it's back on linear. One of the last things I want to show you is the indicator button up here in the top. This is one of the most important things you're going to be using through all of your trading. If let's say RSI is very important to you, then you just type in RSI, you click it, and boom, there it is. And then you can click and adjust. Now, some people say, you know what? I want volume on the very bottom. So volume stays on the bottom, leave it there. So you can just use these little arrow keys to toggle it up or down. And so now you have RSI on the top and volume on the bottom. One of the things I prefer to do, by the way, is to remove the moving average. I just think it's a little distracting because most people anyway will use the break of the RSI at the highs or the lows as their signal. That's just my opinion. But also I wanted to highlight how you can adjust the visuals of these indicators individually. You do not have to leave everything as it is. You can tweak it however you want. This is one of the reasons why I really like TradingView. Literally everything is customizable. Okay, guys, I think that's going to do it this time. Thank you for your support. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/cryptojack and also on Twitter at _cryptojack. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time.